Welcome, everyone. I suspect that many of you are here because you are so relieved that at last, at the Munich Security Conference, there is a session entitled A New Dawn. So away from some of the darkness that seems to have defined a lot of these sessions. And not just a new dawn for Damascus, the prospects for a Syrian transition. And I don't think any of us here in this hall would have expected that by the Munich Security Conference of this year, we would be discussing a transition in Syria, the sudden end of more than 50-year dictatorship in Syria. Syria now led by a caretaker government, and in the midst of the great joy and relief the new authorities are contending with, I'm sure many of you know, enormous challenges at home, in the region, and far beyond. But I have to say that I don't think we've seen such a procession of senior people from around the world beating a path to Syria's door. Maybe a few more went to Mar-a-Lago, I'm not sure, nobody's counting, but everyone seems to believe that Syria cannot be allowed to fail. We are very privileged today to have with us the interim Minister of Foreign Affairs and Expatriates, Asaad Hasan Al-Shaibani. Thank you very much for joining us. And also from Turkey, Hakan Fidan. Thank you very much for joining us. Hind Kabawat. Big smile on Hind Kabawat's face. She has now been made a member of the Preparatory Committee for the Syrian National Dialogue. Many of us, most of us Syrians, are waiting for that to happen. Hind is also an adjunct professor and also director for Center, and I think you pretty well covered, Hind, World Religions, Diplomacy and Conflict Resolution at George Mason University. We hope to be joined by Prince Faisal bin Farhan Al Saud of Saudi Arabia, but we will get started. We have some very well-known Saudi faces in our audience, and perhaps they will join in if Prince Faisal is in. Transition. Everyone's asking about the transition, Minister. You have announced that on March the 1st, Syria will get a new government. And, excuse me, sorry. And you have said that you have hoped, let me just quote you, it will represent the Syrian people as much as possible and take its diversity into account. Is there still obstacles to making it as inclusive as possible?
First of all, thank you for this opportunity, and also thank all the participants and the Excellency that they are now watching us. We are here, we can say that, announced the freedom of Syria after 60 years of oppression and most authoritarian criminal regime in the world. And of course, when we have some problems in the perception towards Syria, all the who are talking about us and talking with us, and they don't understand the nature of Syria, and they don't understand Syria in a realistic way. In Syria, we don't have a psychology complex regarding our diversity. We believe in all the Syrian people, and we are Syrian people. And what I mean by this inclusive government, our challenge is that the Syrian people should feel that they are represented in this Syrian government. And Syrian government will be built on the competence, on the serving the people, on the Syrian identity. We will not divide our government into a sects group, and will not give the appointment regarding on the background of the person. It will be on the competence and also on the national interest of the Syrian identity.
But the fact that you use as much as possible, does that mean you will not meet what have been the demands from across Syrian society for a representation of all the many segments of society, that it's still too early?
Yes.
Because right now, it's completely dominated by the Islamists who once ruled in Idlib. And many Syrians are asking, well, when are you going to start putting in new faces?
As you know, we are now in Damascus for just less than 3 months. And this is the first time we bring the diversity, and we say that the diversity in Syria is a powerful tool. And we believe that for the first time in Syria now, the Syrian people, they arrive to the authority. We are not putting the authority just in one hand. We believe that this authority is the right for all the Syrian people. And in the next steps, you will be surprised, and all the world will be surprised by the Syrian willingness to represent themselves regarding on the national identity.
Okay, I'm sure there'll be questions from the audience. I want to bring you in, Hind Kabawat, because this would be very much your demand. You've been involved with the Syrian opposition for a very long time. Now, of course, your all eyes are on Damascus. Do you have any particular concerns about this transition and representation?
First, thank you so much for having me. And I'm pleased that we're talking about the dawn and the future of Syria, and we're including at the panel women and civil society, because this is the way and this is the future of Syria, to include everybody. Yes, I agree with my minister that Syria is a diversity, and and we need inclusivity. So far, what we see, that from now on there is no minority and majority, because Bashar al-Assad was so much into protection of the minorities, and this is wrong. Now we are equal. We are going to be together, and unity is the key.
Do you think it's going in the right direction?
Very much indeed, because if you see the list of the what we're discussing, yes, we're including everybody from north to south, west to east, all religion, sect, ethnic groups. This is Syria. We cannot eliminate or exclude anybody, and we might. It's been 14 years, the regime tried to divide us, but this is the moment, and it is the moment, historical moment, to be together and start the culture of dialogue which we missed for years.
Hakan Fidan, let me bring you in here. I mentioned before I remember the first comments you made in December when the Assad regime collapsed, and you said that Turkey had been trying to send some message, because of course Turkey has had long-standing, very close relations with the Syrian opposition, and you said you were trying to be a messenger, really, to convey the messages coming from East and West. Syria needs to know that it has the support of powers in the region and beyond. Are the messages the same, or is Syria now getting conflicting messages?
Well, thank you very much, first of all, for hosting us here. It's an important question. You know, when the Assad regime fell, we came together with the regional countries, and we discussed about what we are expecting from the new administration in Damascus before taking any positive or negative steps. So because for more than a decade, Syria has become a source of instability in the region. Now we have a real opportunity for the first time after a decade to sort out the things. So that time, I think many countries, they agreed on the same principle. Those are, you know, we don't want to see any more threat to the neighboring countries. We don't want to see terrorism is flourishing or finding a ground for itself. We don't want to see the mistreatment of the minorities, and we want to see the territorial integrity and political sovereignty of the Syria is provided, and an inclusive governing. So when we communicated all these requests of the international and regional community with the new administration in Syria, they responded quite well. I think since then they've been responding quite good. And when I speak to my international colleagues, fellow foreign ministers and other officials, I haven't heard any major complaints. But they are all aware of the difficulties of challenges that Syria is facing now. I think it is time to really start a real and hard work to address those challenges.
But it's not an easy balancing act. Much, of course, has been made of the roots of the new, now interim president, Ahmed al-Sharaa, roots based in al-Qaeda and Islamic State, but we have seen his evolution, and many are now asking where his real loyalties lies and his aspirations for Syria. There will be expectations of the Islamists in his ranks, which include also foreign Islamists. You have also the democratic forces, Hind is nodding. You have the Syrians who are coming home, wanting to do everything they can to strengthen civil society, to be part of the new Syria. Do you see that there's going to be a tussle in Syria, and of course, which is an issue of stability?
Well, of course, one of the issues is how to provide the stability, especially how to unite the armed groups. I think the government, new administration, has started off with a view to address this issue in a very comprehensive way, because I had long meetings with my colleagues and other officials of the new administration. Our understanding is that now they are taking the right steps in uniting the armed groups, because in our view, there has to be only one legal armed force in any given country. So they will have their own armed forces, but they will have their own law enforcement agencies, but it has to be run and commissioned by the government. So we cannot tolerate armed militia, whatever they are in form, because for a long time we've seen this experience bringing only chaos and instability into the region. So in order to provide the order and safety and security of the people, I think to address the issue of militia, bringing them under one national army, I think is on the way. This is one of the important subjects that we really monitor.
Minister Shaban, do you want to comment on that? Because not only is Syria under pressure to form this inclusive government, it's also about bringing, as Minister Hakan said, to bring all the armed groups under one authority. And you know there's been resistance from some groups, including in the Kurdish areas. Are your regional partners helping you with this quite a delicate process? No one likes giving up their guns.
Yes, I think that if you ask you about giving me an example that you have seen in Syria last 2 months, you will not find in the recent words this successful step that to see a revolution turned into a state in this fast way, and also the reconciliation and also the agreements of all the armed groups to be under a national army and to be the weapons to be ruled by the law, not ruled by the chaos. And maybe this successful example will be studied in the universities to have to this big change after 50 years of authoritarian system to be in this peaceful way. And also we should understand the reality in Syria that with the complex and with the problems, and also to understand the situation there. If we stay all the time from abroad and give them lessons and recommendation about what they will do, Syrian people were waiting the international community for 14 years and for 50 years, and they didn't make anything for them. Now the willingness of the Syrian people, it's national, Syrian, and all the actors in Syria, they are very keen to the national interest. And also, of course, we have friends in the region, we have close friends in the region, and we have allies, and we all our neighborhood, they are supporting us in these correct steps that we are taking now. And I think that what we need just to give us the chance to represent ourselves, and also to give the chance for the Syrian people to give the whole world this successful example.
It's unfair, of course, to Syrians that they should be compared to other countries in the region, each of whom has their own history, their own balance of forces. But I don't need to tell you that the initial concern was that the kind of rivalries we've seen in Libya, in Yemen, in Iraq, would also come to be a major issue for Syria, that different countries would have different interests, they would back different armed forces. Do you have a message for your regional allies? Is there some meddling going on in which you see some dangers ahead?
The big achievement that happened in Syria, and we are very happy about this issue, the victory has been done by the Syrian hands and by on the hand of the Syrian, without any international intervention in our country. And this big change has happened without lifting destroyed cities and destroyed state, and also without millions of refugees go out of the country. I think that the example of Syria is different from Iraq, from Libya, and from different states in the world. The Syrian people, they got the lesson from these experiences, and also we learned from our mistakes, and we learned of what happened in the region. And for this, we all the time we are keen to bring the whole Syrian society with us, and to prevent any actions that will break this stability and these achievements.
Can I just get a sense of what the audience brings here to this discussion? If just by a show of hands, how many came here optimistic about Syria's prospects for a successful transition? How many of you came with that? You're in the middle. And how many of you came with real anxieties, real worries? Smaller show of hands, smaller. We'll come to your questions. We have sitting in the front row, Geir Pedersen, the Special Envoy for Syria, over many years now, has been urging Syria to try to move towards a more representative and democratic government. And I remember, because we were both together in Doha when President Assad, when it collapsed, and you, right from the get-go, urged, in fact, you wanted the next week to be a meeting in Geneva. That hasn't happened. You've just addressed the UN Security Council with a message to say this need for an inclusive government is urgent, and it has to be credible. What you've heard what it says. Is it going in the right direction, and is it going quickly enough?
Maybe just I want to add something.
Yes.
If you want to know the situation, if you want to know the situation in Syria is optimistic or pessimistic, just this is the first time for me I see Mr. Geir Pedersen smiling. And this is a good signal. Yes.
That's because what you said makes him think his job will become easier.
Yes, please. I'm sorry. Yes.
Where to begin? As you rightly said, Liz, I mean, we were all taken by surprise, and as the minister said himself, it's not even 3 months since they took over Damascus. I think so far our new friends in Damascus are saying all the right things. Really, the messaging is very good, and it is what you have heard here today. Huh? And what I'm hearing from Syrians across the board is that, yes, finally, we need this to succeed. We can't afford another failure. This is the opportunity we will get in our lifetime, in my grandchildren's lifetime. And it needs to be grasped by both hands. First and foremost by the Syrians. And that's why we know are approaching the 1st of March. There will be some very important decisions made in Damascus on this. Those decisions need to be right. There is no room for mistake here. And I've heard it from Mr. Shara himself. I've heard it from Mr. Shaibani. You heard it. And he must be tired of seeing me, and because he's repeating the same message all the time. And it's the right message. But we need to see on the 1st of March that it is a really inclusive government and that the process will continue to be inclusive. So transition is priority number 1. Then, of course, security. There are plenty of security challenges. One, of course, is still there is an issue about Daesh. There are still different factions around the country. And then, of course, we have the northeast, the Kurdish issue. That needs to be sorted out. And we have the Israeli occupation of new Syrian land that needs to be sorted out. These are all big issues. And then, of course, is the security situation across the country, in Homs, in area in particular, along the coast, that are linked to the transition question, but it is also linked to the next question, and that is the economy. And we will not be able to have a successful transformation of Syria if the economy can't be fixed. And the economy cannot be fixed if we are not lifting sanctions. I can't emphasize this strongly enough. Syria today is a humanitarian disaster. It is really a humanitarian disaster. The challenges that the government is now facing is enormous. And as you know this, there are now close to 17 million people in need of humanitarian assistance. We have refugees returning. We are internally displaced returning. They need to see that there is a future in Syria, and they need to see it quickly. We have seen now that there is a general license from the Americans. The European Union are doing the best they can, but we need immediately to fix the energy sector. We need to see that financial investments is possible. The central bank should no longer be sanctions. We need to see health. We need to see education, just to begin with. It will take time before the Americans are capable of addressing the question of sanctions in the broader sense. But while we are waiting for that to happen, we need to fix these other things. And for that to happen, we need more support to Syria, more economic and humanitarian support. And it's crunch time. This can't wait.
Thank you for mentioning that. I'm sure some of the questions will end. I'm going to pick up Minister Fidan because Geir Pedersen mentioned it as part of his array of issues that he's concerned about. You'll remember in those early days after the collapse of the regime, you had Israeli warplanes bombing. You also had Turkey involved in the north, and I think many asked, well, is this the right time to be engaging militarily in Syria at a time when it was trying to take back its sovereignty? And I know Turkey has said it has specific concerns about the Kurdish groups, but is it being unhelpful that you are so still engaged militarily along your border?
Well, as we have seen the transition period is going on, of course, we are recalculating every step that we are taking in Syria. Our primary objective and occupation at the moment regarding Syria is how to help them in reconstruction and how to get the economy back again, and then rebuilding the government institutions. Those are very important issues that we are trying to do our best with international and regional community. In terms of our military engagement, as you know, we've been engaging with our army just to protect the population who were living under opposition control. We were talking about 5 million people that time. So that was a result of Astana process, and I think today all the people that we were there to protect, now, thanks God, they are ruling the country altogether. Hopefully, a bright future is waiting for them. Then there is only one remaining issue for us in terms of security. I think we are also expecting our friends in Damascus to address this issue, not to leave us, is to get rid of PKK-YPG. Because PKK-YPG is a big threat, like Daesh, to Syria and the entire region, because the international terrorist fighters from Türkiye, from Iraq, from Iran, now they are packed and fueled in northern Syria, and they are disguising themselves under the pretext of fighting against ISIS. There is no fight against ISIS. There is a prison services to provide to the American military, because there is no other place to put the Daesh prisoners in prison. So this has been chosen a place to put the prison. But you cannot allow these people to occupy 1/3 of the country and to sit on the oil and gas fields, to rob the country, not to allow the central government and millions of the other Syrians not to benefit from the oil and gas. So this should end. This is not only a national security threat to us, but also a big problem for our region.
Yes. And it is a question that you have to resolve not just with the Syrian authorities, but with the American authorities who are backing the YPG. And we don't want to spend this to dominate our discussions, but are you working with the Trump administration, President Trump's administration, on resolving that conundrum, which is at the expense, I think, of Syria?
Well, we have started talking with the Trump administration. We actually had detailed discussions with the previous administration towards the end of their term. But now Trump administration is just settling down, and I had my first, in-person meeting with Secretary Rubio yesterday, and my other colleagues are meeting with their counterparts. So hopefully we'll come to terms.
Okay. Before I go to just one comment from you, Hind. I mean, the United Nations is very keen to get involved. How much outside support, and in particular the UN, does Syria need in helping in this transition? Or can Syrians do it on their own?
Thank you for the question, but I need to comment something about the Kurds, because this is the ongoing questions about the Kurds. Kurds are part of the Syrian people, and we are consider them Syrian citizens and proud of this. But to have their own army, to have their own place, this is against our unity. And reality is, if every single group will keep their militia and keep their army, we're going to end up like the scenario of Iraq. And for us, the last thing we want to have the scenario of Iraq. So we need one army who respect the humanitarian law and not to kill their own people like what Assad regime did. So their duty is to protect us in one humanitarian law. This is number one. Number two, as your question about outside, this is a Syrian-led. We need it to be Syrian-led. We need it to be a process of Syrian. First of all, we do respect the EU, what they did for us over the last 14 years. They stand by us. They've been supporting us. Turkey, they did so much for us, sometimes over all of them. And we appreciate our Saudi Arabia brothers and sisters. They are amazing. They are supporting us. But we have also our sovereignty, and we need to have our process alone. They are part of the security, part of our partners, and I like now what they did in the new government. We have this open door diplomacy. We have ministers and other countries are visiting, and there is a dialogue. So this is very good. But as for the dialogue as itself, the first time now in Syria, I did see a real open dialogue. There is so many lectures, many round tables, many discussing, and even in a cafe, we're discussing politics. This is the first time. For us, this is like a historical time we can discuss. And last time we did a lectures, and the only thing I say, did we get a mukhabarat permission? They say, no, we don't need. So congratulations. This is a very good positive step for us as Syrians. So we might consult, we might get advice. This is how the global things done. But in the end, we need it as a Syrian-led.
Good, good. I think, now I think our distinguished Foreign Minister of Iraq is here, and he's already heard two mentions of Iraq. So, sir, if you would like to comment at some point, of course, you can put your hand up. We also have Adel Al-Jubeir, who's the Minister of State for Saudi Arabia, and again, if you would also like to comment. And I see a hand of Abdulaziz from Saudi Arabia. There's going to be many hands. Abdulaziz, would you like to raise a question? Introduce yourself, because not everyone may know you.
My name is Abdulaziz Sagir from Saudi Arabia and the chairman of the Gulf Research Center. And I had the pleasure of moderating the Syrian opposition meeting 2015 and 2017, so I'm quite familiar with that. I have two questions, one for Minister Hakan Fidan, whom I have a high respect for. In the region, we understand and we appreciate a lot what Syria have done for the Syrian refugee. And we understand your national security interest, that you do not wish to see Kurdistan in Syria, another Kurdistan in Syria that will represent a threat and launch any attack against the Turkish territory. But at the same time, what we are watching is three things. One, You bombarded.
That's not a question. That's a PhD thesis now.
Well,
okay.
Okay. No. Well, it's because it has a certain issues anyhow. So it's
to your point. Yeah.
The key point is you have dumped a lot of goods in the Syrian market, having the advantage of the custom free. The question is, we understand your interest as an economic interest, but we do not wish to lose Syria toward Turkey as we have lost Iraq toward Iran. We do not wish to see surrendering Syrian political decision toward Turkey. Now, for Minister Shaibani, I have a question. Israel have benefited from what happened in 4 areas. One, they extended their territory in Golan. They demilitarized Syria completely. And they stopped the supply line for Hezbollah and Hamas and get rid of the Iranian out of Syria. How are you going to deal with all this Israeli agenda in Syria? Thank you, ma'am.
Now, if Prince Faisal had been on this panel, he would have pointed out that Ahmed al-Sharaa, not only did he make his first visit to Saudi Arabia, he also said that he wants the kingdom to play a very big role. So maybe the Turks will say, well, what's Saudi Arabia going to do? You want to? Then I'll take more questions.
Shortly, I can say that the fact that we've supported the Syrian opposition for 14 years, right from the beginning, doesn't mean that we will have a say over their sovereignty. No, this is something that we are specifically avoiding. We don't want even the impression of that. As a matter of fact, what you have just pointed out, dear brother, is a big problem in our region, which is the culture of domination. Because for a long time in our region, there has been this fear and concern who is going to dominate the region, the Turks, the Iranians, or the Arabs. I think we have to leave this behind. We have to introduce the culture of cooperation, respect, and solidarity, and committing each other's sovereignty. I think it is a new dawn now. And I think we can do this. And within this spirit, we are establishing our cooperation with our brothers in Syria. I mean, even they were opposition movement. And brothers and sisters. She's right. She's right. She's right. You can ask them, even when they were opposition, we didn't have such an attitude. Because we have drawn important lessons from what had happened in our region.
Okay, good. We like this kind of dialogue. Minister Shaibani. We're worried about Israel and what's happening with they're moving into the buffer zone in the Golan Heights.
As you know, that the Israeli issue at the southern of Syria now, they are destabilizing the situation there, and also after the overthrowing the threats of Syria was regarding militias and Assad regime and all of this issue, we were surprised by these actions. And for that issue, we talked with the international community, and we talked also with the Endov that we are ready to go with the agreements of 1974 to guarantee the security of UN forces there to keep peace. And we all the time say that Syrian people, they are tired of the war and from the problems, and we need from all the world and from all the region that to give the chance for the Syrian people to live in peace and instability.
Now, there's a lot of hands, so I'm going to try to be as democratic as possible. So I'm going to take, so the gentleman here had his hand, and then the woman, they will take one from the middle, and then up, and then, okay, sorry. Okay, let's, okay. To the point, please. Discipline's part of democracy.
Thank you. Barak Ravid from Axios in the US. 2 questions to you, Minister Shaibani. First question, a lot of people here are obviously very happy with Assad the murderer gone and with Iran gone, and that's all great. But they also look at Syria and see that the Syrian government at the moment looks like copy-paste of Idlib. And they see that Mr. al-Sharaa appointed himself as president. and said that elections will happen only in 4 years. And it's starting to feel as if there is another dictatorship growing in Syria. So if you can address that. And second question, follow up on the Israel question, because there's no Saudi representative here, so I'll ask you, do you expect Saudi Arabia not to normalize relations with Israel as long as Israel still keeps controlling Syrian territory in the buffer zone?
Okay, thank you. And this lady here, yep. We'll come back to you, yep.
Thank you. My name is Hannah Neumann. I'm a member of the European Parliament, and I actually have been to Syria 2 weeks ago, so thank you for hosting me and making this possible. I have one very quick question, because everybody says it needs to be a Syrian-led process. Given the track record the EU or the US has on imposing solutions, you're absolutely right. The question then is, what do the Syrians want? We are still trying to figure that out. So you have a very strong transatlantic audience here. If you can make 2 or 3 wishes, what would help you right now in the next 2 or 3 months the most in terms of support? Please send them, because I guess a lot of people are very willing to help.
Good, okay. And this lady here, and then I'm going to go to the other side. I think now in Syria you don't have wishes, you have plans, right? Just take one, this lady here, and then...
So it will be the last nice comment. Farah Al-Atasi, I'm Syrian-American political activist. Very quickly, all the issues that Mr. Pedersen raised about Syria, we inherited from the previous regime. It's not the fault of the new leadership that they inherited all of these concerns, from the economic problem to security to all the other issues. Bashar al-Assad left Syria broken and broke. With no money, he stole all the money from the central bank, and he literally destructed the country. So what our minister is saying, give us time. We are asking as Syrian people, give us time. We're not like President Trump, who come to reverse the other administration with executive order. We don't have the magic stick to fix all these issues. So what my colleagues are asking, give the Syrian times. Okay. And that will lead to the other question. It's not what the international community is asking from us. It's what we are asking from the international committee. What you can do for us. What you can do for us. Just a few days ago, we were at the Friends of Syria summit in Paris, and some other 2 countries like Greece and I think Cyprus refused to sign for the last memorandum, because they think the misconception that Turkey, our friends, are the one who has saying in our internal affairs, and they refused to sign the, right? They refused to sign the the last communique. So what we are asking as Syrian, what you as an international community can do for us, give us time to fix our own internal issues. We are all behind, Mr. Pedersen said, 1 second, we are all determined to make this transitional period a success, and we will succeed.
Thank you, thank you. Yes, I gave you the floor because I knew you'd speak up for Syria. Mr. Shaibani, are you a new dictatorship in the making? It's a yes or no answer.
Now, when we talk now about Syria, all the world was saying in the past was saying the dictatorship of Assad regime, and nobody make any action against this plurality and also the criminality of the Assad regime during 60 years. And finally, as I said, that the Syrian people free themselves by themselves and by their sons and women and daughters. And we are very happy to have this freedom without international intervention. But of course, now we are victims of exclusion, and also we are victims of this dictatorship authority and system. And of course, we are now putting the steps and putting the principles to have a system that represents the Syrian people, to be Syrian-led, Syrian-owned. And of
so
course,
March the 1st, the new government will be the end of the dictatorship. Will be the end. The face will be different.
No, now we are starting our road to the freedom and dignity of the Syrian people. And who experienced the dictatorship will not repeat it again.
Okay. And the question about your demands?
regarding Saudi normalization?
Yes, Saudi normalization. Do you want
he can ask Saudi Arabia.
Yes,
about this.
but would you actually also insist that about the Golan? But
Golan is the rights of the Syrian territories. We don't have this right to say any word about this issue. It's the right of Syrian people, and Syrian new government next month will decide about this issue.
Okay, now we've got from a European Member of Parliament wants your 3 wishes. I'm going to turn it around. In the interest of democracy, I'm going to give you 1 wish, and I'm going to give Hind 2 wishes. Very to the point. Two for Hind. 2 for Hind and 1 for, yes, okay. Very to the point. They want some guidance about what they can do, back to our point, about what the international community can do to help you. What do you need now? Just bullet points, really.
Yes, first of all, I'm very surprised when I see that we are in the field, and all the Syrian people in the field with these huge challenges, and you see that the Syrian people are very optimistic. And I am very surprised when I see the international community, they are pessimistic. Why are pessimistic? Now we are the Syrian people in this... now. We are the Syrian people in these troubles and in these problems, and we are smiling at the end of the day. Yes, and we are we need from the international community, if they can't help the Syrian people in action, we need their help in words.
Yes, but like say, for example, something about, I would imagine you would say the sanctions list.
Sanctions, yes. Removing sanctions is like the Mr. Pedersen said that, and we say it every day. The sanctions imposed on the Syrian people now, they are tackling the hands of the Syrian people, and also they turn the sanctions from the Assad regime toward the Syrian people. And these economic sanctions, we said that it's illegal. We can't agree and be satisfied with the exceptions that we received it from USA or from the European Union, because if you put someone in the prison and you give him breakfast and you say that this is breakfast for you, no, just free the person, and we don't want these exceptions. Just remove the sanctions and open the road for the Syrian people, and it will be the assurance for the stability and security of the Syria.
Okay. Hind, very quickly, because we'd like to take more questions.
Yeah, I want to have my solidarity with my minister. I have to tell you, the majority of the Syrian people are poor, and we have devastated country and destroyed. The women in the IDP camp, they want to go back to their home. Where is their home? It's destroyed completely. If you walk around Jobar and Hasaki and Harasta, it's like Hiroshima. I'm sorry to say this. We need reconstructions to the country. And if we want to do this, it's not for the women. If you are saying that you're supporting women, you're supporting civil society, this is our demand. Lifting the sanction, because we need to get back to our normal life. We want our sisters from the camp to come back to their homes. This is what we need. So this is number 1. I have another one. Yeah. Second, it is important to support, please, health and education. Every time we talk about we need health and education, he destroyed hospital, he destroyed schools. So we need to reconstruct first school and education and hospitals, because this is our priority as women.
Thank you. Okay, let's now, I'm sorry, I have to be democratic to go to this side. I saw some hands here. Was it gentle? Yes, the lady in blue? Yes, the lady in brown. Okay, 2 ladies. Okay.
My question is to Mr. Shaibani. I'm Maysoon Milhem from DW Arabia. The interim government presented a roadmap for a political process, but there is another issue in Syria which is as concerning and as urgent as the political one. It's the economic issue. People are on the verge of hunger, as Hind said. Do you have a roadmap for enhancing the economy, and what could help? Do you have any vision for this?
Thank you. Thank you. And yes, we just passed the microphone 2 rows up. Yep, it's there. Yep.
Thank you. Hi, Lyse. This is Amal Modellali. I'm the former Lebanese ambassador at the United Nations. I have 2 questions, and they're related. The first one is to Mr. Shaibani. Have you started engaging the American administration on your relationship with them, on the future relationship with them, especially also on the issue of the Golan Heights, taking into consideration that the 1974 agreement, this engagement agreement, is an American agreement. was negotiated with Mr. Kissinger and with American guarantees. So are you talking to them about that? What do you hear from them? The second question is about Russia. What is the status of your relationship with Russia and the status of the Russian bases in Syria? And are they going to have a future in Syria? Thank you.
Okay, so two questions. One is, yes, just a minute, please. Oh, yes. We have 6 minutes left. Economic path and also your relations with the US and Russia. I mean, Ahmed al-Sharaa has made it clear that Russia is a long-term strategic partner of Syria.
A couple of easy questions. Yes, regarding the economy, yes, in Syria we inherited from the Assad regime a destroyed economy. There is no economy system. The economy in Syria and the income of the ordinary citizens are very low. And Assad regime all the time they will rob our state, but we will not give it up, and we will start it from working on the ground and to stabilize the currency, to make fixes in the finance ministry and other ministry from our own hand on the field. But the main issue, if we couldn't find a solution for the economic sanctions and we couldn't reconnect our central bank with the SWIFT and with all the world, and we need a huge support for the Syria. We are talking about the hundreds of billions to reconstruct Syria and also to rebuild the health and education sectors and also to enable the Syrian to come back to the life again. If we Also, we have the humanitarian crisis now. We have around 2 million in the tents and in the camps. And the overthrow of the Assad regime, just the start of the road, not the end of the road. And we need all the international community to support us in this approach, because we will not be able to have a good life for the Syrian people inside Syria, or to convince our Syrian citizens who are now in the abroad to come back to Syria. And of course, the economic sector is destroyed, and we need huge steps with the international community support.
So have you engaged with the U.S. administration in detail yet?
The engagement of the new administration is still some conservative state till now. But we think that the Syria and USA, that they have a shared interest and common interest between us and them, and we have a lot of things that we can agree on it, because the stability and security of Syria is interest for USA and for all the world, and we are looking forward to have a good relation with the US, and also we look also in positive way to the new administration.
And I'm assuming then the question of the Golan will be part of that. We don't have time to go into it, but
Russia.
No, and then Russia, yeah, the basis, yeah.
No, Russia.
Yes, a quick comment on Russia.
Yes, you know that Russia was the main actor that shared in the suffering of the Syrian people. The reshaping the relation with Russia, it will be the decision of the Syrian people. And if we have the green light from our people, we will take actions after that.
Now, we don't have time, but we have a question down here. We'll just take it very quickly. And I promise this woman here with the nice glasses, and then here, and then I'm afraid, otherwise I'll never be allowed to come back to Munich. Okay.
Thank you,
very
Liz.
quick. We've got less than 4 minutes.
Thank you. Volker Perthes from Berlin. Have been working on Syria for a long time. So aside from all the other challenges which have been mentioned, and no reason to repeat them, 60 years of dictatorship has been 60 years of crimes. Have you thought about a process to get accountability and to get justice to the victims? And since I heard you're critical of UN involvement, or you want to keep them at some bay, which I, well, dislike in a way, have you thought about getting support from countries who have gone through such an accountability and transitional justice process like South Africa or Colombia?
Okay, thank you. Right here, microphone, in the middle, just here. Quick and to the point.
Thank you, Lyse. Reem Mumtaz from Carnegie. A lot of European jihadist terrorists are being held in the prisons in northeast Syria. Are you asking the European countries to take them back? and have them face justice in their own countries? And just a follow-up on Russia, are you saying that you're going to ask in a referendum to the Syrian people whether they want to continue having a relationship with Russia? I mean, can you just explain how that's going to happen? Thanks.
Okay. You can have to share the questions.
This is Dalal Irakat from Palestine. Well, I come here with a lot of optimism for Syria from Palestine, but I also come with a little bit of concern. Learning from our experience as Palestinians with the Israeli military occupation, there is a lesson learned that some transitional mechanisms under the pretext of security become the permanent prolonged occupation. Today we have heard the foreign ministers of Germany, France, UK and Poland speaking about the importance of multilateralism, diplomacy, and that they will not stand on the side of the aggressors. Don't you think it is the moment for Syria to seize the moment and say no to the territorial aggression that Israel had invaded on the Syrian lands today? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I also want to bring in Hind here, and we want one last comment. So, first of all, a very good question about accountability. It'll have to be a brief answer, I'm afraid.
Yes. Regarding the accountability and transitional justice, we are in the new government. For the first time, we received the international organization regarding the Triple M, the human rights, the chemical weapons disarmament organization, and Assad regime all the time they disrespect and put his print in this issue. And we are in a new government, want to change this perception for this meaning of justice, rights, and dignity and freedom. And for the first time, we received them in Damascus for decades. They couldn't travel to Damascus. Of course, the transitional justice is the guarantee to protect our society from going into civil war, and also to guarantee to prevent the revenge actions. And at the end of time, there is rights for the people, and we will go through this in balance, because we don't also to make. We don't, at the end of the day, we don't want also to enhance the divisions of our Syrian society. And we need to take these steps in organized steps, not just to enhance the divisions that the Assad regime all the time work on this issue.
And you're into like South Africa or any other countries, just very briefly, any other particular learning lessons from others' experiences?
Every experience has its specialized and special in its location, and the Syrian experience will be different, and we will make a balance between the transitional justice and between also the reconciliation, social reconciliation.
Okay, and we have a question which is asking what people to take back the camps in northern. Yeah.
These camps now it's not under our control, and maybe you can talk with those who are responsible for this issue.
And very fine. Sorry, Hind, did you want to a question about from?
Yes.
Yeah.
I just want to help me.
Yeah.
Just to help me.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just want to answer. Somebody asked about the transitional justice. I just want to tell you from day one, the new government is talking about it, and they have a plan. And now with the national dialogue, this is the main subject we're going to discuss. And we'll all agree about a few things. There will be no revenge, so we don't want to have revenge, no sectarianism, and we need to talk about accountability. And also about the Russian. Listen, we need them to return back our money. This is the money of the Syrian people, and if we don't want them to. So this is also part of the deal we have to do with them. If they want some kind of relation, they want to use the port, okay, step by step, you give me carrot and stick. They have to return back the money, full accountability for the Assad regime, because this is what the Syrian people need. Number two, it is important very much to think about investing in the people. For years, the regime broke the people. It's been very hard on them to live. So we need to invest in the people. So part of the plan for us, invest in the Syrian people.
And one last comment about security, is how security measures taken in the interest of security can become permanent and turn against the people. Dalia's question. And occupy, yeah. Yes. So she was worried about some of the measures taken in the name of security, how they can actually become permanent and turn against the people, correct? No, yes, the sovereignty of your, back to the Golan and the, yes. Yes, in the Golan Heights, yeah.
Yes, I said that the Golan Heights is the right for the Syrian people, and it's the task of the new next government. And of course, it's Syrian territories. Nobody has the right to give it sovereignty to another state.
We're going to have to struggle. Hakan, do you want to, Minister Fidan, do you want to just have one last word before we close?
Well, I think we should be optimistic about the future of Syria. This is what I can say.
Okay. And I think the Syrians have waited more than 54 years for a panel like this to happen. So let's have another round of applause and wish the best for Syrians.